is Two Views Wrestling. Let's get into it.
Give me a hell yeah. What?
I know bangers, and this is a banger. We're talking MLW's Battle Riot. It just happened a couple weeks ago. I fell in love with the show after watching it. I had to recommend it to my partner.
Yeah, I used to watch MLW back in the day when they had my man Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, was dog walking dudes all over the place. Great feud with Hammerstone for the MLW World title. And then when Fatu left, I kind of fell off with the company. So you hyped it up to me, and I looked it up the other day and checked it out. And so here we are. We're going to talk about it.
I have kept an eye on MLW for a while now because I'm a huge fan of Matt Riddle, due to his top 10 probably right now in the business. So let's just start with the Battle Royal. I love the fact that it started with Kross and Matt Riddle, two guys that are obviously established. They were fixtures in WWE. They had major programs in WWE. Riddle's whole career in WWE, he was a main eventer, and if things didn't happen outside of the company, he probably would still be in the main event scene in that company. He worked with Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, Gunther as well, right?
Yeah, I believe he challenged Gunther for the IC title during that great reign.
So I liked them two starting it off when they just came out of the feud that they had about the tapping. And I thought throughout the match, they had me interested in the feud, but it also had me interested going forward where I wanted to see more.
Yeah, I thought it was cool starting with Kross and Riddle because they had to be the favorites to win the match. So starting them at 1 and 2, and they have to go through 39 other guys to, be the champion at the end. Like you said, they had their feud going on. And I kind of liked how throughout the match, as more and more guys came in, you saw Kross kind of come to Riddle and be like, we got to work together here if we're going to get to the end of this, and then we'll settle it one-on-one. So I thought that was cool. It advanced the story. It made you kind of pick between the two favorites, Riddle or Kross, and then you, depending on you or what you thought of the match, you kind of could have flip-flopped. I kind of favored Kross. I kind of saw Riddle come up a little bit, so I was like, oh, maybe Riddle will win, and then you go back and forth. So yeah, I think starting off with them two and having them go the whole way was a smart move.
So I thought that the Battle Royal, the Battle Riot, I keep calling it Battle Royal, Battle Riot, I thought the Battle Riot was structured correctly too. You had this feud going in, it carries you through the whole match. I also didn't mind the celebrity spots. What was your views on that? We had a sighting of Danny McBride. I think he was under the mask for Don Gatto.
Yeah, I mean, that did kind of look like Kenny Powers a little bit. In terms of Paul Walter Hauser, I'm a big fan of his. If you haven't seen the movie Queen Pins, check that out. The one thing, I enjoy him so far from what I've seen of him wrestling. I did not get the thing of no selling with Joe Coffey in the ring for like 5 straight minutes. I get Joe Coffey no selling his Paul Walter Hauser's moves, but he also was no selling Joe Coffey. So I don't know what was up with that. The Don Gatto thing I didn't really get or care for. I did not like this dude, Cha-Cha Charlie. But it was cool because it did mix in a little bit of fun stuff. They had some comedy bits. I wanted to shout out the moment with Festus. I thought that was cool and really well done. The fact that, Carl Anderson saw his buddy was going to get double teamed and rang the bell. So it was a good mixture of serious, hard-hitting action and then some comedy, some celebrity work. So really put together well.
Speaking of the comedy segment, that again got me interested going forward into MLW because we've seen that little tease of the Good Brothers face the Skyscrapers. Now I got that little taste during the match. Now I'm gonna want to keep checking this show out so I can see, a payoff between these two teams going at each other. The finish I thought was super clean, well done. I'm glad it came off that good. To me, is how I viewed it. How did you view the finish?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think Kross winning is the right move just because of the buzz around him with the WWE thing. My only complaint is I wish that like he kind of threw out. I guess technically Riddle was the last guy out, but he was tangled up with Hammerstone, so they go out at the same time. I wish we would have got more of Riddle and Kross one-on-one at the end, so they started it and then they end the match. But overall, I thought the finish was okay. One thing I wanted to shout out was the thing with Contra kind of jumping dudes in the back and taking their spots and kind of targeting Mads Kruger and trying to get the belt off of him. I thought that was really cool and smart and really hyped up what a group Contra was. Like, they're organized and they had a plan. And then they ruined it with that big dude at the end. I feel like they could have done with a better monster to take out Kruger.
That's another thing that I think the match did so well, is I feel like this match, Battle Riot, is a very good jumping in point for MLW if you want to start following it, because not only do we have the Riddle and Kross thing that worked and we can still move forward with that, I feel like we have the groundwork for Skyscrapers and Good Brothers. But what you just said, Contra was sick, and I now want to see Mads Kruger go against that group and get his revenge.
Yeah, I like Kruger. In a previous episode, I mentioned a match he had with Jacob Fatu, and it's just cool that Contra's kind of turned on him, and he's this monster out on an island by himself trying to fight his former army or whatever the story is. But yeah, you got Kross and Riddle and Hammerstone, I'm assuming, in the title picture. You have the Good Brothers and the Skyscrapers for the tag titles. You have Kruger and Contra. And I also wanted to shout out Kushida and Tim, I'm going to mess up the name, but Templario had a match earlier in the night for their middleweight title, which is kind of like a cruiserweight thing. They also had Trevor Lee in the match, which I think him and Kushida could have some good matches. So, yeah, I mean, after you recommending it to me and me checking it out, I feel like MLW is kind of on the rise a little bit.
Speaking of that, on the rise, I want to get your opinion on this. Like I said, this match is very good to jump into MLW. It gave me a snapshot of what their roster is looking like. And you named some names like Riddle and Kross. They're both, we know they can handle anything. They were in big programs in WWE. Joe Coffey, I know you agree with me. This guy can be special. You have Gallus with him. You have Contra there. We could do a feud of Gallus face Contra in the War Chamber. I think I got the War Chamber correctly. I think that is what they call their war games. Hammerstone. You mentioned Trevor Lee. Trevor Lee's another guy from WWE. He was a fixture there. He can handle anything you give him. I wasn't watching him in TNA before he came to WWE, but I know I would read on the internet that he is extremely capable of going in the ring, and then in NXT, I liked his work there in the ring. Austin Aries, like, I get he has this name on the internet, like, it's not all good, but he is a former world champion. That carries some weight. You know you can rely on him. Dijak's there. I'm not a fan of Dijak's mic work, but his in-ring work to me is there. And then you have Baron Corbin going by the name Dyer right now. Corbin is, like, he was supposed to be the next big thing in WWE. He's very safe. He was Kurt Angle's last wrestling match in WWE, so that's another guy. This roster is extremely deep to me, and I think there's potential for some amazing feuds to the point where, like, I'm not saying it's better than AEW, but I'm probably going to watch more MLW than AEW.
Yeah, they do have some good stuff going. I think they need to work on their production. I felt like I was watching, a small-time indie show, which you kind of get a mixed perception because it feels like a small-time indie show, but then you kind of have some bigger names, guys who've worked, like you said, Riddle worked with Roman, and Corbin worked with Roman, and Angle, and all these John Cena. So it's like you have stars, but then it's a small time. It's like in a nightclub or something.
You followed MLW. You followed MLW before I did with the Fatu and Hammerstone, and then some fans of MLW might see this video and they could maybe let us know as well if you don't know the answer to this. But can we trust the Court Bauer guy to give us better storylines than, like, my main issue with AEW isn't the talent or the wrestling. I don't trust Tony Khan at all booking. Can we trust Court Bauer to be better at that?
I'm not sure with the storyline. I'd never really, other than the Contra thing, I'm not familiar with any like storylines that MLW had. I do feel like they have an up and down type of run where they hit on something hot and they get a star and they promote them well, but then they fall off. So they might be on a rise right now with Kross and Riddle and everything. But can you keep it up? And that's, you mentioned I used to watch MLW, and back then it felt like they were, wrestling in bars and nightclubs, and that was however many years ago, and we're still in bars and nightclubs. So it's kind of like, I don't know, change up your production, try to make things, feel bigger. You have a guy that retired Kurt Angle, you have a guy that wrestled Roman Reigns, you have Karrion Kross with a lot of buzz around him. I don't know, try to, make your product feel bigger. I also didn't care too much for the commentary team. I think it was Joe Dombrowski and filthy Tom Lawler. I don't know, maybe switch it up. If there's a way you could get Mauro Ranallo, that would help.
Be cool.
Huge. Yeah, just, and those aren't huge things you kind of have to tweak or change. Like you said, the roster's there. I think Joe Coffey's got potential. Dude that I wanted to shout out that I liked was Josh Bishop. I thought he looked cool. Did some good work. I think that Carl Anderson could be a single star. So they have some tools and they have some players. So it's just, you got to get everything kind of lined up and they could take off.
One question I wanted to ask you was, to me, this felt like Karrion Kross's first big moment outside of WWE on his way back to WWE. Did that feel that way to you? Do you not see him ever going back, or do you see him going back and not being it felt like a Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes moment where it's like, hey guys, I'm coming. You missed out on something. I'll be back though. Do you feel that way?
Unfortunately, no. I think he'll eventually end up back in WWE, but I don't think that this is a Drew McIntyre or Cody Rhodes type of thing. I think that there was a lot of hype and buzz and conspiracy theories around his release being a work.
I thought it was a work.
And I feel like winning the MLW title is the nail in the coffin of, oh shit, this isn't a work. He's gone. And so I think that that's going to hurt him. Like, if it had been a work and he came back relatively quickly, you could have done something with that. You could have done, we've talked about it before. He could have been the devil on Sammy's shoulders. He could have been the Vision thing, could have been with him. There's a lot of stuff that he could have done quickly, but now it's like, I don't think he's coming back soon. So it's like, now he's an indie guy, and I don't know if he has the whatever it was that Cody and Drew had to come back as a major player in WWE. He could, but I don't think that he's going to come on as a big star kind of right off the bat.
So that's our takes on the MLW Battle Riot show. If you haven't checked it out yet, go watch it. I think it's solid work. You might become a fan. If you are a fan of MLW already, let me know in the comments if you're feeling what I'm saying and they could, are they better than AEW? Tony Khan fucks up booking a lot, so maybe.
That's another round of Two Views Wrestling with Tim and Greg. If you like the show, hit follow and share it with a fellow fan. Got a hot take or match request? Send it in. Until next time.